Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome back, or welcome if you are new. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today here on my channel is a little bit of a in-depth candle review extravaganza type situation. I am reviewing 4 candles. The videos are going to be kind of spaced throughout the day in terms of going live. The first candle that I reviewed was Kringle Reserve Blackjack. Obviously in this video, we're discussing Kringle Reserve Polo. And the last 2 reviews, which will be going live a little bit later on throughout the day, are going to be Kringle Reserve Tea Time and Kringle Reserve Tangelo Sour. All 4 of these candles were actually a part of the same Kringle candle reserve release just about 3 weeks ago here. And I have been burning these candles since receiving them and have reached at least the halfway point with all of them. And there are 2 fragrances that I really liked a lot from this launch. And then there are 2 that I didn't care for quite as much. Polo here was one of the fragrances that I ended up really falling in love with. Also fell in love with Blackjack. So if you missed the review of Blackjack, I'll try to remember to link it in the description box. If you happen to be interested in purchasing Kringle Reserve Polo, I'll have it linked at the very top of the description box. You can use my discount code Melanie15 at checkout to save yourself at least 15% off of the purchase of this candle. So feel free to use that if you are interested. But anyway, let's go ahead and dig into Polo. I love this label, you guys. I have always really loved horses. I remember being a little girl and just being absolutely fascinated by them. I was never lucky enough to own a horse or to even get to ride one when I was younger. But I definitely think they're beautiful creatures, and the horse on this label is so shiny and so beautiful. That's a gorgeous horse. So anyway, definitely sucked in by the label on this one, but it's also just such a gorgeous scent, you guys. Much like the Blackjack, Polo is more of a perfumey type of scent. I guess I would put it more on the masculine end of the spectrum. So let's call it another more cologne type scent. Although I do think this particular one maybe could lean a little bit more unisex, if you will. If this were an actual personal fragrance item, I do think this is one of those scents that could be considered somewhat unisex, although it does lean just a little bit more slightly masculine. Let's go ahead and get started by reading through the scent story and the fragrance notes. I'll then tell you what this smells like to my nose. Then we'll dig into the overall strength and throw, and of course address the overall burn quality. Okay. Polo, effortlessly dynamic. Polo begins with zesty mandarin blending into a heart of crisp mint leaf to invigorate the senses. A base of cedarwood and sheer leather round out the scent for a warm, sophisticated finish that embodies the perfect balance of fresh energy and refined style. The top notes include mandarin, cypress, and mint leaf. The mid notes are dewy greens, solar accord, and lavender. And at the base, we have cedarwood, glowing amber, patchouli, and sheer leather. All right, so this fragrance, while definitely having some perfumey cologne vibes, I think could also potentially be seen as slightly maybe soapy smelling by certain people. And the only reason that I say that is because of the lavender here. I feel like this particular lavender, which I sometimes struggle with lavender, but I actually like this one. But I do think it's coming across as maybe like kind of like a lavender soap, if you will. It's nice. Listen, if you like lavender, I think you're going to enjoy this one, but it is a little bit of a soapy lavender. So that is why I say that there could be some that out there that perceive this as slightly soapy. I just want to give you the warning on that. Just in case you don't like that vibe, I would skip it if you're not into that. But let's go back to the top here with the mandarin, the cypress, and the mint leaf. So the mandarin, I very much smell. It's not listed, but I feel like I also get some bergamot at the top here as well. I don't really get the cypress, and the mint leaf, I get a little tiny bit of mint, but it's not super potent. And I really have to be like sticking my nose over like the candle when it's burning to really pick that mint out, but it is there. I'm a little sensitive to mint, but the amount of mint that is in here is still enjoyable by my standards. So if you normally don't do mint, I would say don't necessarily be scared off by this. It's not overwhelming. In terms of the mid notes, the dewy greens, there is a really nice leafy green note in here. It's not grass. It's definitely a leafy green note. The solar accord, I don't really get any type of solar accord vibes at all. The lavender, yes. Again, it is a more like soapy lavender to my nose, so just keep that in mind. Where I think this fragrance really shines, though, is at these base notes. The cedarwood, yes, there is a solid cedar note in here that is really, really beautiful. Quite masculine, but really beautiful. Love this amber. It is the really beautiful, warm, resinous, perfumey amber that Kringle loves so much. I feel like there's someone at Kringle that really loves amber, and they put it into a lot of the different fragrances. But I feel like in the vast majority of cases, like the amber really does make sense. And in this one, it's the perfect addition. Loving the amber in here. But yeah, one of the perfumers at Kringle definitely has a thing for amber. The patchouli. Okay, this is where I really want to kind of dig in a little bit, because I know a lot of people are very averse or very nervous about patchouli. This is a very beautiful perfumey patchouli. This is not an earthy patchouli. This is not that typical like dirty hippie type of smell that you might be like thinking of initially. Very sophisticated, very elevated, very perfumey patchouli. Not dirty at all. And the leather note. Oh, I love this leather. To me, it smells like a white leather. It's not super heavy. It's not super aggressive, but it smells like a well-worn chair. Like my mom has leather furniture in the downstairs of her house, and the more, or I guess I should say the longer that she has had the leather couches, like the more broken in they've become. And I feel like there's this like smell that leather develops over the years. And that is what I smell here. It's like a well-worn, but like lighter leather type note. It's really perfect with all of the other notes in this one. So yeah, listen, if the perfumey scents are not your vibe, you're not gonna like this one. But if you are someone who does appreciate a nice perfumey or cologne-y type of scent, this one is gonna be right up your alley. And it's also had a really good performance. Now, this is another one that I've mostly burned in the master bedroom, but I actually did bring this one downstairs at least once to be able to test it in the family room. And the strength and throw was very consistent from how it was even in the master bedroom upstairs, where the ceilings are much, they're not quite as high. And obviously in a master bedroom, it's a much more enclosed space. The downstairs of a house is a little bit more open concept. But the strength, I would put the strength of this at a pretty solid, I would say almost 8. It is quite potent, but I'll put it at like a 7.5. Let's say 7.5. The throw, however, I would say is closer to an 8. This one travels quite a ways. When I had this in the downstairs, at the time that I was burning it down there, it was the only candle that I had going, and it was also on a day where I didn't have any of my Scentsy warmers going. So this was pretty much the only fragrance that was going in the house other than the candle crocks upstairs and the random candle crock that I have in the kitchen. And I would say this, I could smell it throughout the bulk of the downstairs. It didn't get into the laundry room and it didn't really make its way into the dining room. So I can't give it a 10 out of 10, but definitely this was a workhorse, if you will, in terms of throw. It really filled a large amount of the downstairs. So great strength and throw on this one, especially for this being a 2-wick. Normally I would say with fragrances that I like this, that I'd like to see it in a 4-wick. But when it comes to Polo and Blackjack, these are two that I would say, I don't think that I would want these in a 4-wick. One, I think they would be maybe a little bit too overwhelming, but I think they would also be just way too potent, you know? This 2-wick for both of these fragrances, I think is perfect. I would repurchase these as 2-wicks. I would not purchase these as 4-wicks. They would just, I think they would be too much for me personally. In terms of the overall burn quality, no complaints here at all. Beautiful, clean burn per usual. The wicks are not forming large mushroom tops on this one either. The wicks basically just kind of curl over a little bit at the top. So I will nip that off before before subsequently lighting up the candle again. And that has been working out great. So 0 complaints. The wax is still nice and clean. Let's take an overhead look here so that you guys can see how she's doing. I did just light this up prior to filming this review here, so you can see it hasn't fully pulled out, but there is barely any residue on the side of the jar here. There's just a little bit at the top. Just those little beads of wax. My candles were pretty full when I received them. So yeah, this is definitely the halfway point here. And it's just had a really beautiful clean burn. I don't know, I love this Kringle soy formulation, but you guys already know that. I just never have any issues with this particular formula. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. So 2 thumbs up again for this one here. My top recommendations for this particular release would definitely be Blackjack and Polo, but just be aware of the types of scents that they are. I know sometimes it can be a little bit hard to figure that out with these more conceptual scents, but anyway, I hope that this was helpful. Let me know if you picked up Polo and what your thoughts are about it in the comments below. I appreciate you guys being here so much. Stay tuned for the next 2 reviews, which will go live a little bit later on today. Subscribe if you're new, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Toodaloo.